Yes, I've asked Pastor Klein to keep you guys standing for just a moment because I want to share something with you. It will not take but just a moment. But with our pastor away today, we kind of have an 800-pound elephant in the room. And that 800-pound elephant, I think, has to be addressed, but out of respect for him, want to give in his position, I'm not going to make the thrust of my message today the Supreme Court decision on Friday. I'm sure he will have things to say about that when he returns. And I want to be out of his way and allow him to address that with us as a congregation. And yet the 800-pound elephant is still in the room. It still happened Friday, didn't it? And so I want to speak to it now, and I want to go forward and worship the Lord in this service today. And so that's what we will do. 1963, Supreme Court made the decision in the Madeleine Murray O'Hara case. You remember that very well. I'm sure some of you have only read about it, like young bucks like myself, just in history books, right? When Bible was taken from public schools. I feel this decision that was made on Friday is on par from a moral standpoint with the decision that was made in 1973 with the Roe versus Wade decision. But those decisions have been made. And so as believers, where does that leave us today? Where does that put us in this day that we live in? First thing I want to share with you, and for you to rest in and have comfort in, that there is no court of men and women that can change what our God declares as his righteous or as his unrighteous. The Supreme Court does not make that decision. We are subject to a supreme being that is much higher than a Supreme Court. They can make legal, but they cannot make righteous or unrighteous. Because something is legal, listen to me, church. Because something is legal, it does not declare that it is right. Only God can do that. In 1973, the court declared that abortion was legal. But to this day, this church stands behind the principle of the Word of God that it is still not right. Premarital sex has never been determined by the court to be illegal. But as a church, we still do not believe that it is right. So declarations of men and women as to what is law does not change God's law. And number two, as I have shared with you before, when the law of God collides with the law of men, as believers, we obey the law of God. Acts chapter 5 and verse 29, this proud message proclaimed by the disciples, we ought to obey God rather than men. Know that we are to live in this world, number 3, and occupy until he comes. We still, in this day, are to be salt and light. We have not been salt and light, and it has cost us dearly. But our responsibility has not changed. Proverbs 29:25 says, the fear of man brings a snare. And number 4, pray for America. That God would be merciful to us, have mercy upon us, and if you are not registered, you get registered, and you get to the polls in 2016. With that being said, we're going to sing Onward Christian Soldiers at this time, and we are going to have church today.